us as men, we're fearful to admit that there is like something deeper rooted wrong with us and that we need to fix, and acknowledge the fact that it's there. And like, we're just fearful to tackle that thing head on, because there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of trauma behind that. And so what do instead? We run away by taking our mind off things and escaping reality.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm sitting here today with my good friend Nick Sarda. We've been close for almost a year now. We've gone through a lot of shit. And today we're pretty much just going to be diving into a little bit of men's mental health, just because it is Men's Mental Awareness Month. And I thought it would be a good topic to jump on, just because we've had conversations in the past. I've definitely slipped into some zones where I'm not really proud of or never really told anybody about. And now that I look back, I'm like, okay, you know what? I wasn't good when I was there. And I feel like a lot of men struggle with that and they just never speak about it.
No, dude, I totally agree. I definitely think this is awesome. First of all, thanks for having me on the podcast, brother. It's about time. Second, it's like this is something that I have become very passionate about, being a mental health warrior, as you could say. And yeah, this is coming at a good time.
Dude, 100%. And one of the things I did want to talk about is, you're a little bit older than I am, so you have a lot more experience. I've looked up to you since the moment I moved out here. And since we started kicking, in all reality, you've taught me a lot about training. You've taught me a lot about just decision making. You've always tried to set a good example. And me being, roughly your little brother's age, I think that's kind of why I took that role underneath you. When would you say that you kind of dealt with certain problems in your life where you might have been in a dark place and you didn't speak about it? Because I've noticed it's typically happens at certain ages where a lot is going on, maybe with friends, family. What would you say were some big pivotal points in your life, and how did you get through them?
That's actually a good question, dude. So I would say, first of all, I'm honored that you look at me like that. But I would say I've had several very, very dark zones, as you call them, in my life. And the first one was during my parents' divorce. That was around the age of 13 or 14. I was completely taken out of the current life that I had. I was going on a good trajectory. And my dad relocated all of us, excluding my mom. She kind of left the country, to the Philippines. And I had to reestablish myself, make new friends, and I got in mixed with the wrong crowd pretty much right off the rip. And what got me out of that was just kind of remembering my roots and knowing what I really want to achieve out of life. Because dude, I won't lie. At 15 years old, I put a cigarette in my mouth and I started smoking cigarettes back in the day. And I was just like, this isn't me, So I kind of was on that path for maybe a year or two, and then I just realized that this can't be it. This isn't the path for me, and I kind of pulled myself away from some of those friends that I was hanging out with. And then I kind of got sucked back into it come college time. So my first year of college was actually in a Filipino school, Filipino college. And the people that I was hanging around with started diving into heavier drugs. And that's when I had my first experience with heavier drugs. And it escalated faster than I could have ever imagined. So much so that I would say I completely lost who I was. And I was doing some really weird stuff just to get that next fix. I wasn't a crackhead, but there were just things that we were doing that just, even in that moment, I was just like, wow, I cannot believe that we're doing this to party or to have fun. And it was a very dark place. And I think what got me out of that was, I think it was literally while at a party, I was just sitting there looking around, and I was like, there has to be more to life than this for me. If I stay on this course, I'm going nowhere fast. And I took it so seriously, and that moment really struck me so hardcore that I left the Philippines. I removed myself and I disconnected myself from all those people, and I moved from the Philippines to Florida to move in with an old friend that I grew up with when I was in my younger teenage years. And that's how I came back to the U.S. That was one of the darkest times I've ever been, because I actually like ran away from home. My dad and I were not talking. I wasn't talking to my siblings. Like I was kind of like couch surfing with friends, and just mixed with a very bad crowd, going out every single weekend, clubs, parties, all this stuff, and making my money in a sketch way. So it was a very, very dark time for me. And it took a lot to get out of that and to move forward. But I would genuinely say that I never fully came out of that hole or that dark place as, a better person. Like, yes, I stopped doing that stuff, but it still left its mark on who I was. You know what I mean? And then the next experience would be earlier this year where, that whole crypto thing kind of like really just hit me, and I lost a lot of money in that, and I got carried away with that, and it in turn spiraled into my relationship with Kendall and just like who I was as a person, my happiness, and transitioning out of the military. It like all just kind of like I thought I was aware of it, but I just wasn't, and it spiraled again out of control. And I realized that like I needed to fix who I was, my behavioral patterns, like the way that I was doing things and how I was thinking about things. It was just not okay. It's not where the way that I was doing things just wouldn't take me to where I truly wanted to be, and I had to fix myself at the core. And so that's when I started doing the inner work, which was earlier this year.
And I think that's huge, man, because the inner work is something that doesn't really get talked about too much. And it sounds like since the beginning, or even during these dark times, you were able to escape the moment that you were in, but you never really fixed the root cause of it. And the moment things got tough again and things kind of started to spiral out, it seems like you went right back into old habits for, past pains, past sufferings that, just brings you back into, that place. And nobody really tries to fix the root of things. Everybody really just goes to, fixing the symptoms, which is, okay, I feel this type of way. I'm going to go continue to party. I'm going to go continue to do drugs. And that's what I was doing, because one thing that really struck out to me is just my parents got divorced like almost 3 years ago now. And at the time, I thought I was okay with it. I thought it wasn't affecting me. I was always the type to be like, oh, cool, like your parents got divorced, like quit bitching, grow up, you're a man. And I try to like push that on myself as well. And I didn't realize how much I was like really coping by going out and drinking heavy, again, getting mixed up with hard drugs, and really doing things that were supposed to be fun and not as a way to have fun, as a way to just kind of like escape and feel something.
That's it right there, the escape.
It's that escape that's dangerous, because then you're, once again, like putting a Band-Aid on the symptom and not the root problem of it. And real quickly, like it started affecting my relationship with my parents, especially when they were divorced and going through their darkest moments. It started affecting my relationship with Ivana, and there's very close points where, I didn't see us together and I thought we were like done. My money completely tanked. Like I was in stupid amount of debt, and it real quickly messed up like my life, when in the beginning it was just supposed to be raves and having fun. It was supposed to be like a sense of, hey, let's let loose, let's have some fun. And real quickly it turned dark, and I didn't talk about with like anybody. I think the only person I really knew was Jose Esparza, my best friend from back home. And even then, I didn't tell him the full stories of what was going through my mind, like some of the thoughts I was having. And they're dark. You feel ashamed to even like speak on them, because like even now I'm like, okay, I was thinking that. It almost feels like taboo for it to even like leave my mouth. And I'm glad I've gotten to a point where I've done enough healing. I'm not done. I got so much more traumas to fix, but I've gotten to a point where I can look back now and be like, whoa, I'm very aware of where I was at, and I've done enough healing to where I will never allow myself to slip into that zone again. The same way I've seen you do enough healing to where I can confidently say that I don't see you ever slipping back into that zone or even near it, because the amount of healing you've done these past, 7-8 months, like I've never seen anybody do like so much healing and just like so much progress in that amount of time, man. Like I've told you, I've lost friends when it came to just, diving into, more hardcore drugs and, once again, trying to have fun. And no, dude, we were some of the few that didn't allow ourselves to get too far, to stray away from like our true inner child. And it's a good topic to talk about because once again, nobody talks about this, and a lot of people go through it, and it's just kind of like this elephant in the room that nobody talks about.
Dude, two things that you said really stuck out to me. So the first thing is that you were talking about we use like partying and having fun and those hardcore drugs and alcohol and all that stuff or whatever it may be for a specific person to escape the problems. And like the reason we do that is because us as men we're fearful to admit that there is like something deeper rooted wrong with us and that we need to fix and acknowledge the fact that it's there. And like we're just fearful to tackle that thing head on because there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of trauma behind that. And so what do instead? We run away by taking our mind off things and escaping reality. And I think that was one of the biggest things for me is just like I actually sitting here talking to you now, I think about it and I'm just like, damn, I think I went through a lot as a kid, as a teenager, as a young adult in my adolescence. And I just did not know how to cope with it. And so what I did was I just got lost in the partying and drugs. And, I think that maybe a lot of people's cases aren't as extreme as ours. But it's definitely a thing for men to kind of shy away from acknowledging the fact that there is a problem deeper rooted. And in order to fully move on and progress, we need to tackle that at the source.
100%, dude. And right now we are making like a huge pivotal shift when it comes to generations. Our kids aren't going to get what our parents placed on us because we are a lot more aware of what these traumas truly do to you as you age. And our parents really did the best that they could with the circumstances that they had, and us being a lot more aware that we can do a lot more healing. By the time we do have kids, we can pass down, the least amount of traumas. But they're still gonna have traumas that we're gonna place on them. It's inevitable, but at least we are doing the most that we can now, so that we can say, okay, with the circumstances I had, this is what I'm passing down to, my genes. This is what I'm passing down to my, my offspring, my kids, the kids that I'm going to be raising. And it needs to be seen that way. It needs to be seen as like, okay, this is something so important in my life because if I plan on having kids, it would be selfish of me to have kids and not do any healing and then pass these traumas down onto them. We're supposed to lead by example. We're supposed to pass down like a better version of ourselves. And if it continues to get ignored or not talked about and not healed at the root, it's just going to be the same cycle over and over again.
100%, dude. I mean, if you think about it, when did inner work really become a popular thing? It's very recent, you know what I mean? There's like Dr. Nicole LePera, she's like the holistic psychologist on Instagram. She blew up recently over the past 2 to 3 years. And she's kind of like really paved a way for a lot of people to, she calls them self-healers, become, more in tune with their inner child and do the work on their own without having to see a professional and stuff. And then, for you and I, we're now in Wake Up Wealthy Brotherhood, which has been humongous for us because, I don't know, well, you probably knew because I told you, but like me going into it, I thought it was going to be more of like business mentorship, learning scaling and systems and sales and, more of the granular stuff. When in all reality, their whole thing behind it was like, if you want a better business, you have to fix the individual, because we literally are the business. And I've done so much work with them in NLP work, and it's just been, I could honestly say, life-changing, because like I mentioned earlier this year, I transitioned out of the military and I just was going through a lot coming from, having this life where it was complete restriction. Like it almost felt like my life was not my own, to being a full-time entrepreneur and having all the time on my own. I didn't know how to 100% transition to that, and I felt really anxious all the time. I actually had panic attacks thinking that because in the military it's just like there's constantly things going on and there's a nagging feeling in the back of your head like you got to be doing something's coming up, and I was still having that. And I guess I kind of just pushed that off to the side as well. Didn't really focus on like taking care of myself. And mental health is something I definitely suffered with specifically during my time in the military. I had a lot of low points. One so much so I would literally come into work and I just remember I was done. I just gave up, and I would fall asleep behind this piece of equipment that we had for the entire day. And then I would wake up to eat, and then I'd wake up when it was time to go home. So much so to the point where like one of my, I guess you can call him like the guy in charge, the man in charge above us, was like, dude, you need to see someone. You are not the person we know you to be. You don't have the same work ethic. Like we're scared for you and we're concerned for you and we need you to go talk to someone. And I did at that time, and I just didn't really understand the benefit of it. You know, I was very skeptical with therapy. It was like one of my first times doing it, and I did see value from it after like finally opening up. But recently this year is when I've just fully like grasped the power of self-healing and doing the inner work and doing our NLP sessions and being aware, like you said, self-awareness, having that self-awareness. Like this isn't like a thing where, okay, I'm going to do this for 7 to 8 months and then my journey's done. Like you are going to be healing from traumas and things that happen throughout your life and events that occur to you throughout your life, probably indefinitely. You know, it's a constant process, just like your fitness journey. It's a constant process of growing, learning, and healing. And you know, I think that's something that people also need to be aware of.
No, honestly. And with Wake Up Wealthy, you joining and then me seeing like the amount of growth that you did in a short amount of time, like I had to get in there as well. And one thing I realized real quickly is like you said, you know, I wanted to go in there, you know, business and everything, and they offer everything that we need. But real quickly I found out I'm like, I have everything I need to be successful. I have the systems. I know how to do lead gen. I know how to deliver good service. We have everything. And their main point is like, okay, we're in our own way. And what I really like about them, and I'm not shitting on therapy. Therapy's freaking amazing. Like, I definitely advise therapy to anybody, but I've never reached out and got therapy on my own just because the NLP work that they've done in Wake Up Wealthy for me has been amazing. And one thing that I really like about them is they don't only distinguish, you know, your traumas and just kind of like put it out there for you. They go down another level. Okay, this is the traumas that you have right now. Let's go back and heal it. Let's go back in time to where you felt like that. I know one of the modules that I had to do with one of the hypnosis is like I started crying and bawling my eyes out because I had to go back in time and talk to my previous self. And that was hard for me to do because I for some reason I remembered exact points where I felt that exact way about myself, which kind of comes right back to me now on why I was feeling like insecure, self-conscious about myself. And I've always said that I've been the type of person to have a bunch of anxiety, and I don't say that anymore because I don't accept that version of myself because it's not truly who I am. And I wouldn't have been aware of that if it wasn't for like Julian or if it wasn't for Wake Up Wealthy as a whole. And shedding off and taking off these bags of like insecurities, like anxiety makes me, unworthiness is a huge one. Like it makes me feel lighter and able to advance to the next level with the tools I already have from business. And it's been great. Like the things that we've learned, and then now you're able to pass to your clients. So not only did you go through your own traumas, you've gone through your own healing. It's felt like a journey, I freaking bet. Like I'm pretty sure it's been a freaking roller coaster.
It's been intense.
Yeah, I bet, man. But imagine the value that your clients are getting now, because how much of your clientele is military? All of it, correct? Like,
yeah, all of our clientele is military.
Imagine the value they're getting now. You're telling them that there's a curve up ahead that you weren't aware of before. You weren't aware that there's a curve and you were going 100 miles an hour. They're aware now. They can put, you know, a little bit of pressure on the brakes because you're there guiding them, not just through their fitness journey, but through like military, through mindset, through like a deeper part that goes so much more further than fitness.
Yeah, no, I do. Just because you brought that up, that's my favorite part about it because, yeah, sure, like you could physically transform someone and give them newfound confidence and all this stuff, which is absolutely great. But, you know, these guys suffer from more than just like a lack of confidence and, you know, getting fit or passing their physical fitness tests. It's like the stuff that we go through in the military is pretty deep and it's traumatizing and it's hard ass work. It's hard ass life. Like not being able to see your loved ones when you want to, being away 9-10 months at a time. Like all these things add up, and like you know, there's going to be people in the military that disagree with me and say that like, no, I'm totally fine, but you know, I can probably say that.
I mean, at one point, did you believe that?
Yeah, exactly. Like I was just like, you know, I just deal with it. I'm a man. I got this. Like, you know, if this higher ranking person looks fine and like he's just pushed it away and he's totally cool, then I could do the exact same thing. And even when I was going through my shit, remember when I told you I was at that low point, sleeping behind that equipment, just like literally just gave up on life completely, pretty much. I was just like, like this will pass. Like I'll be fine. Like there's nothing really wrong with me. Like it's just whatever. Like this is a phase, I guess, or something. And I think a lot of people really need to understand that like you don't have to go through something super traumatic in order to need therapy, or you don't have to think that you're broken or that there's something wrong with you in order to just become a better version of yourself. You know what I mean? Because like this part of healing, this part of the NLP work and therapy and all that stuff is literally for us to become better versions of ourselves, like you said, for our kids, for our family, for ourselves, and for the world around us, And so like, why wouldn't you want to take up on that and become the best version of yourself? Because for military people, there's so many free resources. And I literally posted about this today. It's just like letting people know like, hey, these resources are available, and there may be a little bit of a stigma behind it, because there's still a little bit of a stigma about mental health and, like I'm not crazy, there's nothing wrong with me or whatever. But they are available, and I really wish I just capitalized on them more while I was in.
Mm-hmm. And I see why they still has that stereotype, because even until like earlier this year, I still thought like meditating and like all this self-care and self-awareness was like a little bit too woo-woo for me. I'm like, I don't need to be doing this. Like I really don't. I got other things to do. I got more important things to do. Yeah. But you find out very quickly, like if you don't take care of yourself, and not just physically but spiritually as well, like it gets to you and you limit yourself and you feel like you're unworthy, and it just down this like spiral that it's really hard to come from unless you really just look inward. And that's the toughest part, because nobody wants to look inward. But I want you to dive in a little bit more and talk about, what do you guys do with your clients? Because you guys give one hell of a service to your clients. I've seen the amount of work that goes behind how much you and Jake really care about not just 2K, but every single one of your clients. I want you to dive in there a little bit more and talk about how you grasp like all these lessons that you've learned in your life through Wake Up Wealthy, through other mentorships, because you've invested so much into 2K just so you can continue bringing the most amount of value to your clients. What do they see? What do they get? And, talk about, why they love it so much, because these guys are happy, man. And it's awesome to see them happy on Instagram.
So I think what it is a lot of people come in just expecting physical transformations, right? Because we have been really good at seeing, some crazy physical transformations. But what they don't expect is coming into this community and having like all these other, military, even veterans, brother and sisters, like coming together and just being so hype with each other and motivating each other. And then also the mental health aspect of it. Like, I do get a lot of guys that are just like, you want me to do what, dude? You want me to meditate? What? I'm not a hippie. Yeah. And it's just like, dude, neither am I. I'm not a hippie either, but I'm telling you, this stuff works. Just trust me. Try it once. Come in with an open mind, an open heart, and just see what happens. Just do that for me. And almost every single time, these guys are like, whoa, dude, that was crazy. I really gave it a try, like you said, and like, they just hit the ground running. They're like, all right, I want 30 more guided meditations. So I'm like, all right, here you go, And it's so cool because we also have this like warrior mentality, and it's not like a brawlic kind of like brawler type warrior. It's like almost like a samurai, They meditate and they're calm, they're cool, collected. Their decisions are very precise. At the same time, they could slice your head off in 2 seconds. That's the type of warriors that we are breeding here at 2K, Like they're calm, cool, and collected through life. They're very self-aware now and become self-aware and understand what they need to do. And that's both mentally and physically. Like we're really big on educating these guys because our mission is to change and revolutionize the health and fitness standard within the military. And the only way to do that is by educating people so that they can do it themselves. And then they're going to come in contact with, their next command, their next platoon, their next unit, and some guys are going to start working out there. And then they can teach those guys. And now we're creating a ripple effect, And it really is just like this very welcoming community that I think a lot of people didn't expect when coming into the program, because when you hear the word program, usually you think like, all right, I'm going to go one-on-one with this guy, I'm going to do some work and, it's going to be awesome. But, these guys really do hype each other up and they support one another. And I mean, we even do like meditations on our group coaching calls, and it's just something that they didn't expect and then realized that it's something that they really needed, and I just love that. I love how hyped they get.
That's huge, man. So a couple things that like really stand out to me is, one, you aren't building a program. You're building in a complete experience and like a pivotal change in their life. And that's what I see. That like even before I even brought it up, like the entire time I see you building up your program, because we've been working next to each other like freaking since we met each other. It's been just work, 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 work. Hey, let's share ideas. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. It's always been an experience with you from the start. And one thing that you really mentioned is when you were in the military, two things really stood out, or what you wanted out of the military, kind of like what made you happy to be there. Because, you always say there's like a love-hate relationship with it. Is one, you said the brotherhood. It's just like you are like with people and you're kind of forced to be with them, but that also builds like an alliance. It builds relationships because then you go through hardships together, and you know that when you go through hardships together, like relationships are built on that.
They're bonded hard.
It's something you can't buy.
Yeah.
You can't purchase. It's an experience, and it's something you keep with you forever. And you always say, okay, military was like, this is what I loved about it. And I always wanted to be the best soldier possible. I always wanted to be the best person on the boat. I always wanted to be like good for my job. You always wanted to make sure that you were doing the best, not just for you, but for your team, because now, you're with other people. They expect you to do well, and you want to be good, not just for yourself, but for them as well. And now you are doing that for other people. So they come in with, they're gaining an experience. They're becoming a better soldier overall. And they are getting a lot more than they thought they'd be getting out of it. They are getting a whole brotherhood out of it, the experience part of it, something that they will remember for the rest of their lives that they got from the military. And now they get out of the military, they're still in it, and they have another version of it that's just all about self-development. And when you find people and like an environment where you can really grow with them, you don't let that go. You want to be around that all times because you know where the pack is going and you want to be a part of that pack. And it's something you're building, and it's just expanding, and it's expanding really fast, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's like, one, we already have that initial bonding factor of all being military. So it's just like, he knows exactly what I experienced. He's gone through the suck too, and like there's that immediate bonding factor that you were talking about before. And then really it's just like this whole kind of like ordeal community movement that we're building. It's just like these guys want to be a part of it, and they want to stay a part of it, and like that's why we're even planning on doing events in the future, like Rucks for a Cause and stuff like that, to like really get these guys to come together now and form this community. And it's like Jake and I look at this as, these guys answered the call to serve their country and do their duty. And, Jake and I did that as well. But now we feel called to serve those who serve, and it's a very powerful thing because, like, these guys, like I said, this life is not easy. And a lot of people suffer in the military from mental health. Like, I want to say, like, veterans, it's like there's like 21 or 22 veterans that die every single day due to suicides and stuff like that. And to be completely honest with you, I've seen, and heard of attempts of suicide like on our boat during deployment. And so it is very real. And we even have like suicide prevention training programs and stuff because, again, life is not easy. And so if we can help these people who need our help and transform them and help them understand and like provide the resources that they need for mental and physical health, then I just feel like we're doing so much more than just giving them like results physically. You know what I mean? Like, this one person could have like changed their life, and maybe down the road they were contemplating something that serious, God forbid. But since they joined their program and they completely, like transformed themselves, and they're into working out, and they're into understanding more about their mental health, and maybe they go see a therapist, like we just stopped that person from ever getting to the point of them thinking about, or again, God forbid, committing that act.
You're creating another opportunity.
That's the way I like to see it. Exactly. And so it's just a very powerful thing. Sometimes I do get lost in the sauce and I get overwhelmed, and I'm just like, why am I even doing this? This is, during those low points. And then I remember who I'm doing it for and, how powerful of an impact we actually have. And a lot of my warriors remind me of this every day because I literally just got a text from one of my favorite clients today, James. And he was like, dude, I just tried on one of my old pants from 2019 that I never thought I'd fit into again. And he's like, I buttoned that motherfucker up. And I was like, dude, how do you feel? And he's just like, I feel pretty rad. And it's just like, okay, this is the reason I'm doing it. It's not for me, it's for them, And I constantly forget that.
And it's always going to circle right back to you as well. Just in this life, something Julian said that always stuck out to me. And for those guys who don't know Julian is our mentor in Wake Up Wealthy. But something Julian has always said,
he's the mindset coach.
That guy is insane.
He's unbelievable.
He's helped me out tremendously just on the quick calls that we've gone on. Just the NLP work, I'm like, okay, cool. This guy knows what he's doing. He knows what I'm talking about. There's no judgment. But one thing he said is, my abundance heals the world. And the more you have and the more you learn, you're able to heal more of the world. Like, you're able to leave the world a little bit better place than when you found it. And I honestly thought that was extremely powerful. And like, I kind of just like repeat that in my mind. Anytime I start to feel a little bit unworthy, I remind myself, like, my abundance heals the world. Like, I can't be sitting here thinking I'm unworthy. It doesn't work that way. It's just like, if I start to begin that way, I'm doing a disservice to my people, to my clients, to my family, to everybody I love around me. And it's the same thing on your end, the more you're able to give to your family and your loved ones. So honestly, we covered a lot. I'm actually really happy we jumped in on this. This was a perfect topic to talk about.
Let me ask you this real quick. From your journey, right, and your path of doing the inner work and being aware that mental health really matters, what has come about in your life? What has that brought for you? I'm curious.
That's actually a really good question, because before I moved to San Diego, I moved last November. I would say one of my darkest places was the previous, so we're in 21. I would say going into 2020 was probably like end of 2019, 2020 was probably one of my darkest places. Like, nobody knew it. We were partying like crazy. I was always the guy that can, handle the most. So I was always like the guy people would cheer on when I'm chugging a bottle of Jameson. We were going to a lot of raves. I was always the guy pushing it, I was always good, but it's because my tolerance was so built up, because I was, once again, just trying to feel something. I had broken my foot. Unemployment didn't come in. Like, I did everything I could, and then I just didn't get the money. I still had to pay all my bills for 2 months when I was out of work, so I quickly went into debt. No money coming in. Even with the broken foot, I was still finding ways to like drink, turn up, and do all these things I wasn't supposed to be doing. My relationship was shit. I wasn't talking to my parents. It got really ugly really fast, and I just remember sitting in my living room just alone while Ivana was at work, my best friend was at work, playing Call of Duty, just stoned out of my mind. And I'm like, I'm fucking miserable. Like, my foot's broken. I'm in pain. I'm sad as hell. Like, I can't even work. I feel like so less of a man because I can't even pay my own bills. And it hurt. And the moment I healed up, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get my shit together. So shortly after, I hired Will before my foot even healed up. We got on it. I got on a meal plan. I stuck with it. I got lean. A couple of hiccups here and there, but I mean, it's me dieting really hard and then stressing out and then kind of like getting off the wagon a little bit. But I stuck with Will like the entire healing process. And I haven't talked to him too much about it, but when I was like at my worst, the only way I knew how to get my life together was with fitness. If I can just eat right, train hard, and like get shredded, cool. That'll show myself that I have discipline and that I am in control of my life. And in that process, I proved that to myself. And then COVID happened, like the world shut down, and the world shut down at the most perfect time for me. It shut down when I had like just proved to myself that I am capable about like doing what I say I can do. So I was getting shredded. I lost my jobs because of COVID. I started doing landscaping. So I was working 12 hours alone in the mountains in Aptos every single day. So I would drive an hour, work 12 hours, drive back an hour, get home, lift weights, go on a run, read 10 minutes, go to sleep. I was like on cue with everything. And I ate my meals every single morning. I was up at 4 a.m. And Ivana would help me cook all my meals. And although I was exhausted, I remember waking up and couldn't even open my hands from like how much I was shoveling all day. I just remember being so happy with myself that the world was ending and I still took care of myself. And that was like a huge like light bulb in my head that, you know what, I chose to be in that position when I was miserable and not happy and drinking all the time. And right now, 6 months later, 7 months later, I chose to be in this position where I am working every second of the day. I am healthy. I am taking care of myself. And I proved to myself that I can do whatever the fuck I say I want to do. And since then, I've just been like pushing my luck and just like, thinking a little bit more and more crazy. And then San Diego came through. And then I'm like, you know what, maybe it's so crazy it might work. So I moved to San Diego. And then, I was like, you know what, maybe I'm crazy enough if I keep healing myself and keep believing in myself and healing like all these past traumas, maybe I can do good for myself. I can meet good
What did
people.
you do like to heal from those past traumas?
I did a lot of reading. So I didn't dive in too much with like inner work stuff, but good books that like good self-development books. The one thing, a good one that stood out to me was The Way of the Man. Books like Atomic Habits, just a lot of self-development books. And I was just like, you know what? Successful people do this. I'm going to do it. And it really helped out a lot. And I didn't really start healing until I got out here. I met Far. I read How to Do the Work when you introduced it to me. And then I got deeper into healing myself. So I was doing okay. But then once it really got to like healing myself, things just exploded from there. My relationship is so much better. My relationship with my friends, I like the people I have around me. I feel like absolutely blessed every single day I wake up. I journal about my friends. I like just think about how happy and blessed I am every single day that I wake up. And it just keeps on happening. Like good keeps coming my way, no matter how crazy I might sound or feel when I choose to pursue something. And it only came because I decided to start hearing myself like spiritually. I started like, okay, you know what? This can't be ignored anymore. I can't just like put aside, how I'm feeling. I gotta like really feel it and understand why I'm feeling it. Something we learned in Wake Up Wealthy, like feel it. Where do you feel it? Why do you feel it? Dig in a little bit deeper, ask questions, be okay with feeling it. Stop guilting yourself for feeling something.
Acknowledge that it's there.
Acknowledge it. It's there for a reason. It's trying to shine light on something.
It's trying to tell you something, yeah.
And since then it's been good. And don't get me wrong, like the anxiety still tries to kick in, limiting beliefs still try to kick in, but I have more tools in my toolbox to kind of counter it. And we had a good conversation the other day when we were talking on the phone, and I'm not gonna lie, I was feeling a little bit anxious, and you bringing up how much has happened in the past year from when you first met me till now like really relaxed my nerves. I'm like, oh shoot,
dude, you just don't realize it, but we've all seen it happen before our eyes, and it's mind-blowing. Not only is it physically, but it's like mentally. You've matured. You look different. your relationships are better. Like your business is thriving. Like, dude, you're no longer this scrawny little kid that moved here from Salinas looking like you're 16 fucking B-boy, 6-year-old B-boy. You came here and you look like a goddamn man. You're huge now. You're like 2.5 times the size of what you normally were.
Shout out Will.
Shout out Will. Dude, your discipline's on point, and like our path trajectory is just like crazy. And it's such a common thing for people in our space, to get so lost in progression and like where am I going next and what am I going to achieve next that like we forget to see and look back and be like, damn, dude, look at all the shit I've actually done. Because dude, that happens to me so many times. But I definitely think the most improved award, as I said earlier, goes to Mario Macias.
I appreciate you, brother. It's been a fucking roller coaster this past year, man. I'm excited for all the more curveballs that are gonna be thrown our way, because I know it's not over. I know a lot of things are gonna pop up, but like we said, that's what makes life exciting. If this shit was easy, it wouldn't be worth it. And if it was easy, then we wouldn't be providing the amount of value that we do for the people that we love. So it's good, man. I'm really happy we had this podcast. I'm definitely gonna have you on more. Is there any last things you want to jump in and say, man?
Yeah, men's mental health really fucking matters. And I just want to say, like, if you were thinking about seeking some help or looking for someone to talk to, just please do it. Pull the trigger. There's nothing but good things that are going to come from it. Yes, you're going to have to put in a little bit of work, but the amount that you're going to get back from doing this work, I guarantee you, is just more than you can imagine relationship wise, how you perceive life, your happiness, just just overall everything, your quality of life would super improve. So I cannot recommend being more self-aware about your mental health and just, bettering it when you can.
Yes, sir. The ROI on that is priceless. Just seek the help out. Don't do what we did. Don't just push it to the side. And trust me, like, the return you get on it is just amazing. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to this episode of Last Five Podcast. If you're listening to this on iTunes, make sure to check us out on YouTube under Mario Macias Last Five.